What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's a decent amount of news to go over, but not quite as much just because of the holiday week here, but still plenty of stuff to go over. First is some good news for those of you that wanted to buy a new Fiesta ST but thought you were out of time. So Jalopnik and CarsDirect.com are reporting that the order guide for the 2019 Fiesta has been revealed, which means there is a 2019 Fiesta here in the States, even though that was uncertain since Ford was saying they're getting rid of all their cars a few months ago. And so anyway, it shows that the Fiesta and the Fiesta ST will stick around for the 2019 model year. I believe 2020 is when all those cars are getting killed off, but that's, I don't think, 100% certain. So at least one more model year here for the Fiesta ST. There's no changes, no improvements though, not even any new colors, it doesn't seem, but at least they're keeping it around. That's cool. And so the only new thing honestly is the addition of an ST line package. Now this is new for us here in the States, but over in Europe there's been an ST line version of the Fiesta for the previous couple of generations here, and it's basically those sportier looks with just the base engine instead of the actual ST engine, and that's most likely what this is going to be. They didn't detail it in the order guide what exactly it all has. The description just kind of describes it as having the appearance of the ST, but probably with the regular Fiesta engine. You will be able to get the ST line with both a manual or an automatic, although it's only a 5-speed manual or I think a 6-speed auto, same one as in all the other regular base Fiestas. It also only gets 16-inch wheels instead of the 17s you get on the real ST. But anyway, cool to see that it's sticking around for one more year, and if you wanted the cooler looks of Fiesta ST but didn't want the extra power for whatever reason, or needed an automatic, then there you go. There's also several new vehicles that were priced this past week, and I'll try to go through this quickly because I know pricing can get a little bit monotonous. But the first is some exciting pricing news here. The Torque News revealed about the pricing for the Hellcat Redeye that just came out last week. So we didn't have any pricing back then, but now we know it's going to be about $14,000 cheaper than a Demon, which is pretty cool considering although you get a little less tech than you get in the Demon and a few other, a few less features, it's basically, just 10 horsepower shy of the Demon really. And so that's pretty good savings, 14 grand less. So it's going to be starting at $69,650. But that's, I think it's before destination and the gas guzzler tax. When you add those two in, it's actually $72,995. So 73 grand. Still is, cheaper than a Demon by a good bit, and so it makes it cool. But the only interesting thing, though, is I assumed they would all be wide body, but they're not. So the wide body version is an option. You can get it with a narrow body. The wide body is $6,000 more, and so if you want to load up all the options on a wide body version of the Hellcat Redeye, then you're looking at close to $95,000 still. So this is, that 73 is for a stripped out narrow body Hellcat Redeye. Still a very sweet car, still should be pretty well equipped, but if you want all the bells and whistles, it's still going to be almost as expensive as a Demon. Also, the regular Hellcat gets a nice discount of $5,645 with a new base price now of $58,650, but after that gas guzzler tax and stuff, it's $61,695. But still a discount. It was cheaper than it was before, so all good news there. The RT Scat Pack now starts at $38,995, and also there's a new change similar to what they did to the Charger, where the GT trim doesn't necessarily mean it's all-wheel drive anymore. The GT is just the sportier V6 now, and so you can get the GT with either rear-wheel drive now or all-wheel drive, and you can also get now the base SXT version of the Challenger with all-wheel drive as well as rear-wheel drive. So for that base SXT Challenger, it starts at $27,295, and if you want the all-wheel drive, then you're looking at $30,295. So $3 grand more for all-wheel drive, but for those of you that really need it, it's the only muscle car that offers it. So I still think that's really cool they're even offering that. Other FCA news is, according to Car and Driver, Alfa Romeo is going to be adding a new rear-wheel drive base version of the Stelvio for the States. So I believe Europe already had a rear-wheel drive version of the Stelvio available, but here in the States we didn't get one until apparently the 2019 model year here. So it's going to be about $2,000 cheaper than the current base all-wheel drive model that we get here. So that puts it at a starting price of around $41,440, which is cool, but it's still, they're limiting it to a stripped stripped out kind of trim. So you can't get it with the TI trim, this rear-wheel drive one. So if you want a rear-wheel drive Stelvio, you really can only get it with the base interior, which is a little unfortunate, but they do at least allow you to get the sport package with the base rear-wheel drive one, and that's $1,800 extra for that sport package. So that's cool at least. Of course, you cannot get rear-wheel drive for the Quadrifoglio version. It's only for the 4-cylinder turbo one. It would be nice to get all the bells and whistles with the rear-wheel drive, for those that don't need all-wheel drive even, like those in California and stuff. But anyway, cool to see them at least bring that over, and I'm sure in future model years, they'll probably give people the option. I'm hoping at least. That would be cool. Also, Chevy revealed pricing this week for the 2019 Silverado. And so obviously with trucks, there's, like 3 different cab configurations and 8 different trims. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of the changes. It's $700 less for the cheapest base work truck trim, and the LT trim, which is the volume seller according to Chevy. That also is $700 cheaper than last year. The other trims, though, are about $700 to $1,000 more expensive than the 2018 version. But since, like I said, there's so many different configurations, I'm just going to show a table that Autoblog posted that has all the pricing for the different models there, and you guys can check that out and pause it if you're curious about all the details on the pricing of that. Also, Lincoln has revealed pricing for the Nautilus here, which is new for 2019. That's replacing the MKX, and so the starting price for that is about $1,300 more than the MKX. It starts at $41,335, including destination. But there is a lot of nice improvements, especially the interior as well as the updated looks on the outside. But the interior, I think it's a new digital gauge cluster now, and it's also supposedly now has best-in-class headroom and legroom, according to Lincoln. Another change is the 3.7-liter V6 is gone now, and the new base engine is the 2-liter EcoBoost. And so the interesting thing about that, obviously it's going to be more efficient, but it's 245 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, which is 2 pound-feet of torque more than that old V6, but you're down 58 less horsepower than the old base motor. So this Nautilus might be a little bit slower than the old version, which is kind of interesting. But you can thankfully still get the 2.7-liter twin-turbo V6 as an option. That has 335 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque, and that's an optional extra you can get for $2,070. All the models here get the new 8-speed automatic from Ford, and they also get the Co-Pilot 360 safety suite system that Ford's been rolling out, and Lincoln gets that, of course, as well. And so they're going to have that as standard as well, which is cool to see. Some interesting news from Buick here. So they revealed the 2019 LaCrosse Sport Touring, which interestingly has an ST badge on the back for Sport Touring. And that sounds like a lawsuit from Ford waiting to happen, putting an ST badge on the back. But maybe it's legally okay. I don't know. Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised to see a change of the badge mid-model year or something. Anyway, it's got a slightly sportier look here with less chrome. It's just kind of going for the more, I guess, sportier appearance, almost like a blacked out appearance, but without going blacked out, just kind of getting rid of the chrome here. You also see a small rear spoiler, 19-inch wheels are a little sportier looking as well. But sadly, there are no actual performance improvements for this ST version of the Buick. And it's going to be starting at $41,220. And unless you have to have a Buick and have to have the most amount of space possible, I don't know why you would buy this over an actual sporty Buick like the Regal GS, which I have not driven yet, but I've heard very good things about it. And so anyway, but interesting to see that. BMW has revealed pricing for the 2019 X5 that was revealed a couple of weeks ago. Right now, there's only 2 models available at launch. Of course, there's going to be several more over time. But the xDrive 40i with the 3-liter straight 6 turbo that has 335 horsepower, 330 pound-feet of torque, that one's going to be starting at $61,695, which is about $1,200 more than the 2018 model. But you get so many improvements. That new interior is really impressive. And then the xDrive 50i version, which has the 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 with 456 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. That one starts at $76,745, which is $1,700 more than before. So a little bit more of a premium there and a bigger jump. But anyway, BMW is very specific in saying these are going to be arriving at dealers November 10th of 2018. Very precise. But anyway, interesting to hear that. But that's enough numbers. So going on to some other speculation and other cool reveals here. First off, is Audi has showed off some pictures of the E-Tron interior, which is their all-electric SUV, coming soon. It was supposed to be revealed, I think, August 30th, but they had to push that back because of the legal stuff going on with Audi. So it's going to be later this year sometime. Anyway, so you can see it has the same screen setup as the other brand new Audis with the dual screens there in the middle and the digital gauge cluster, of course. Very futuristic with that new LED accent lighting, and even the illuminated E-Tron logo is very cool. But there are these new 7-inch OLED screens that replace the side mirrors, and this is again going to be the first car to market with no side mirrors and screens instead. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be that way for the States as well. I don't know how that works out legally, again, as far as car laws and stuff go. I think they did mention something about it being an optional extra and not being standard equipment, but I'm not sure. It could be standard. Anyway, these screens are very interesting. As you can see, they give you 3 different views for highway, street corners, and parking. I don't know. That placement seems to make somewhat of sense, but it's just kind of a little bit more of a view down that you have to look down. Usually with mirrors, you just look straight across, and this you have to look straight across and down a little bit. Probably won't be a huge deal, but we'll take some getting used to, and we'll have to see, obviously how people adjust to that, different look. Because I mean, people have been looking in their side mirrors since the car was invented, so that'll be interesting. Anyway, cool to see that. Also, thanks to Brian Williams, we have some spy photos here. The first is some spy pictures of the next-gen Audi Q3, which was spied with very little camouflage, just basically around the headlights and taillights, really. And it looks like a baby Q8, and honestly, I think that looks really good. Again, looks a little bit bigger, too. It almost looks close to the size of the Q5. Maybe a little less squished in the back, too, than the current Q3, which would be a nice, improvement. And so anyway, cool to see that. Also, the next-gen Mercedes GLE Coupe was spied for the first time, and that's showing a similar shape to the current GLE Coupe with that fastback roofline there, but has the sleeker looks here for this next generation version. Especially the front end seems a little wider and not quite as blocky as it was in the current GLE, which the whole vehicle is really blocky in those current GLEs. This is a lot sleeker, but that also means those side windows look a little bit more narrow too, so maybe visibility won't be quite as good as the current GLE Coupe. We'll have to see, but anyway, this could be arriving for the 2019 model year alongside the regular GLE, or this could also maybe show up a little bit later for the 2020 model year. It's kind of up in the air which way it'll go currently. But anyway, interesting to see that. Also, we have some news from Toyota about the Supra. I am very guarded about any kind of announcements from Toyota these days, just because they've been crying wolf kind of for a while here. We've been waiting forever for this Supra. But they showed a picture of it in new camouflage, and they announced it's coming to the Goodwood Festival of Speed next week. Now, a lot of news outlets are running with this and saying the car is going to be shown in production trim at Goodwood. I'm not sure about that. I mean, unless they know something I don't. I didn't see anything that actually specified that in anything official Toyota put out. I have a feeling, since they're dragging this out, that they're just going to run a new camouflaged version of the Supra, the more colorful camo you see there. They'll be running that at Goodwood. So it'll be the first public outing, but it's still just going to be camouflaged up, and maybe people get to hear it, obviously running up and down the hill. But I don't know how much of it they're actually going to show. Maybe the interior, since that'll be hard to hide. And obviously, with the camo, you can still make out most of the details, but I don't think it's going to be an official reveal. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see the production version finally. We'll have to see. Some other Supra stuff, though. Thanks to Ryan Fujimoto, who goes by Datsun Underdash 240Z Cars on Instagram. He sent me in some spy shots that he actually took here of a Supra he saw that was parked in this parking lot. And so lots of people have been sending me shots of the Supra. They've been all over LA and several other areas just doing normal testing. And so they didn't really show anything new usually in those pictures. But the one new thing that his pictures show here is one shot of the rear hatch up. And I believe this is the first time we've seen what that hatch shape is going to actually look like. We knew it would probably have a hatch, but just kind of seeing the shape, it's very reminiscent of the old Supra. So again, not much new, but a little niblet of information here to add to the pieces of the puzzle here for this new Supra. So anyway, thanks to Ryan for sending those in. Autocar is reporting some good news here about the 2020 BMW M3. So they have a report out this week, and they are saying that they're claiming a bunch of information here. Some of it they seem more certain on than other parts, but anyway, they're saying it's going to be on the new CLAR architecture as the bigger sedans to help it weigh less than the current M3 CS version, competition version, and they're saying it's going to be about 6 inches longer, but despite that extra length, that new platform weighs less, and so that's how they're going to get that weight down. And so they're saying it's going to be less than the CS version, but the CS version only weighs 3,494 pounds. So if it's less than that, that's going to be impressive. And we'll just have to see how that all pans out. They're also reporting it should have more power than the current CS, with their prediction being 465 horsepower. Now, other predictions are saying anywhere between 450 and 500. So we'll have to, see. It's still a lot of this is just guessing, but they have some sources that are telling them these things. They also heard that supposedly they're not going to have any kind of hybrid assistance for the M3 in an effort to keep that weight down again, which sounds good to me. Even though everything else is going hybrid these days, it'd be cool if they kind of went against that trend for this vehicle. Other things here, Autocar and BMW Blog are reporting conflicting things about a couple other things here, including the transmission. So Autocar says it's going to have a 6-speed manual available. Previous reports have said it'll be auto only. I hope that those are wrong and that this is right and it'll have a manual. But anyway, Autocar is also claiming it's going to use the ZF 8-speed from the M5 for its automatic choice, whereas BMW Blog's claiming it's going to stick with the 7-speed dual clutch. So it's anyone's guess, I guess, at this point still. Autocar also thinks it'll get reversible steering. That would be nice, but that's also up in the air and would also be heavier. So going with that lightweight goal, that would go against that, but might be worth the extra weight for the benefits and handling. So we'll have to see, but anyway, interesting to see that. Some other future car rumors here is that Lamborghini, supposedly, according to anonymous sources, has been showing a new limited edition hypercar to important customers that's similar in production or in styling to the Centenario, the Veneno, that type of stuff. I think it's going to be something Aventador based, but kind of have some new tech added in. Like those vehicles often introduce some new styling elements or some new tech. I think that's what they're going to be setting up with this new version that supposedly it's going to look like the Terzo Millennio concept, but it's codenamed LB48H, according to the Supercar blog that's reporting this. And supposedly they're only going to make 63 of these, but 63 is way more than they usually make of the other ones. I think the Veneno they made 20 of. Centenario was, I think, very limited around that number as well. So 63 is a good amount more. Autoblog's also trying to guess at what that name means, that, LB48H. I'm not sure if that's a final name, but often, L stands for longitudinal, and usually it's LP, so posteriori, so it's, the engine configuration. With this, I don't know. The B could be like bimodal, because they're thinking the H at the end could be hybrid, so maybe electric motors up front, the gas engine powers the rear. Since Lamborghini has confirmed the next-gen Huracan and Aventador will be getting, a hybrid assistance, this could kind of test the waters for that with this hypercar and then roll it into the next-gen Aventador, which I think is actually due sometime 2020 to 2022. We'll have to see about that, but anyway, it's about that time for another limited edition hypercar, I suppose, and Lamborghini probably loves doing them because they make lots of money on them. So this one is going to be rumored to cost somewhere around $2.5 million, and it's probably already sold out anyway, even though it's not been officially revealed. And supposedly, according to the rumors, this production is going to start as soon as the end of this year, possibly. So we could be seeing some type of reveal before the end of the year, or maybe Geneva next year, something like that. But anyway, interesting to hear that. And there's been rumors of the death, the return, permanent death of the Volkswagen Beetle. There's been Volkswagen executives have gone back and forth about, we can't do a Beetle anymore. We're leaving that in the past. The current Beetle will die soon, and there will never be another Beetle, and all these types of things they've been saying. The newest report from Autocar is saying there's a possibility that Volkswagen could bring the Beetle back as a 4-door electric car, and with other car companies doing very similar things. The Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross is the first one that comes to mind, but there's others that fall victim to that of being turned into 4 doors, although thankfully Volkswagen's not talking about calling it a crossover, so that's a relief. But still, 4-door electric car, And so that's what this report from Autocar is saying. They're saying it basically would be taking the ID hatch and then giving it more Beetle-like styling. And so the reason why they were doing this report is because they talked to Klaus Bischoff, I think is how you pronounce that, who's Volkswagen's design chief. And he spoke to Autocar and said they're focused on launching volume sellers first, so whatever this is, it wouldn't come super soon. But he said these cars have super complicated technology, and if you do too much, it's an overload. Then we can move into more exotic cars in the field of emotion. Later, I'm assuming is what he means. And he also said that a theoretical Beetle would probably have similar space to an ID hatch because it's an EV, so you have no motor to worry about. You know, it's a flat floor, so you can kind of do whatever you want with the styling. But he said it could still have the Beetle looks. He said, he's quoted here as saying, "You have plenty of room, so there's no compromise in functionality anymore. So it could be a very attractive car." And he says it could be a very attractive car, but then he also revealed that they have designed sketches of this future Beetle already, but it'll probably take 2 to 3 years before a decision is even made as to whether or not they're going to make this. So, sounds like they're working on it, which is encouraging, because I personally obviously love retro things, and so keeping any kind of retro vehicles alive is a great idea in my book, and I think it would be very cool. You know, they're bringing back the microbus. They confirmed that, I think, 2022 to 2025, and it'd be really cool to also have a vintage-looking, Beetle alongside it, even if it is 4 doors, maybe kind of hide them, kind of like the Veloster or something would be really, really cool, and, still have, maybe round headlamps instead of all the sleek, little slits that all the other, these electric Volkswagens seem to be having, at least from the concepts. So that will be really cool, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, at least encouraging to hear that they're entertaining the idea of a new Beetle. Lastly, there's another cool retro vehicle that could be making a comeback. Actually kind of seems to be confirmed to be making a comeback if it actually can happen. So that's MG and them doing a new roadster. So MG is now owned by this Chinese company called SAIC. And so Australian website Drive talked with their design head about future cars, and he said that yes, we will build an MX-5 rival, because they were kind of talking about the idea of doing some type of Miata thing, and he said yes, we will be building a rival to the Miata. He said this is an MGB and MGA type car, so anyone who knows those from the 50s, it's that very small little roadster open air, cool thing. And so he's saying it will be very different though. It's going to be on an all new platform that's all-wheel drive and electric. And so you don't expect any engine sounds, and it'll be, all-wheel drive, which would be really cool for a roadster, because, very few people do that. It sounds like it's going to be heavy, though. That's the only thing, so I'm not sure how much of a rival it will be to the Miata. Although, there's ways to make lightweight EVs, but, we'll have to see how this pans out, if it even actually does come to production. Since MG, hasn't done any kind of sports car in a long time, they've teased stuff like that picture you see there, was a concept that they did, I think, last year or the year before, but never made the light of day. Anyway, he also said, in addition to being all-wheel drive and electric, that it would also create some type of motorsport version that would come after it, which would be cool. He says they're doing this because MG needs to get back to the beginning and the essence of MG, which is their sports cars. That's what they started as, and so, it's kind of like taking a page out of Alfa Romeo's playbook, where, you go back to your motorsports heritage and you rely on that to drive marketing and sales, which is a great strategy, especially as an enthusiast. Hearing about, motorsports related stuff is great. And so that'd be really cool. We'll have to see, how it pans out. But anyway, interesting to see that. But that's it for all the news this week, guys. Let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.